Tonight, the media fraternity is shocked at the gruesome murder of a journalist who was killed at her home last night. One of the stolen phones has been recovered, but detectives are piecing together evidence to bring the killers to book. Also tonight, there is a banter zoned in a football show. Your channel of choice, the county's television, TV47 premieres Banter Zone, a 1-hour football show that will air right after the news at 10 p.m. Good evening, but first, the highlights. Tonight, detectives probe the murder of KBC journalist Betty Barasa, who was shot dead last night in her house in Ngong.
I had 2 bullets. Actually, I didn't know that my wife has been shot.
One of the phones that was stolen from the family has been recovered, but no suspect is yet to be arrested. Also tonight, the Joint Legal Committee on BBI says the BBI reggae is still on. The committee is set to meet next week before tabling the report in Parliament. Plus, over 73 doses of Sputnik vaccine will be re-exported out of the country. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board reveals. And Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. Now tonight, the family of journalist Betty Barasa, who was killed by suspected robbers last night at her house in Ngong, Kajiado County, is seeking justice for its murdered kin. Betty, a senior video editor at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, was shot 2 times in the head by an unidentified assailant at her bedroom, while 2 other assailants held the rest of her family hostage at a separate room. And as the murder's investigation gathers steam, the detectives have retrieved one of the phones stolen from the house, which they believe will be crucial in the manhunt for the 3 suspects. David Mudoka begins our broadcast tonight.
Ololua area, Ngong, Kajiado County. Outside the house of murdered journalist Betty Barasa, residents, friends and family of the late KBC senior video editor are in utter shock. As a thick cloud of grief hovers over the compound, no one here seems to have come to terms with the gruesome murder that robbed a man his wife, 3 children including a daughter and 2 sons their mother, as well as residents their neighbor, all in a spur of a moment. But what actually transpired at this house that is now a crime scene on Wednesday night? According to witnesses, Betty arrived at her house minutes past 8 p.m. in the company of a friend from work. As has been the norm, her house help rushed to the gate to open it, but no sooner had she opened the black metallic gate to usher in her boss than 3 assailants armed with AK rifles emerged from a nearby construction site, sending the 3 into panic mode.
The house girl screamed, ran to the house. One of the thugs followed her. The other 2 are pointing guns to the windows to open, or they opened fire. So my wife and the friend complied. They opened the doors.
Leaving the engine of her Toyota Prado SUV still running, the gunmen then led Betty into the house where they held her family, including her husband and 2 of their children hostage, and demanded money.
The one who came to the house now picked me from the veranda and told me to comply or they eliminate me. I said, no, I'll comply fully.
One of the gang members is then said to have led the journalist upstairs, while the other 2 remained to keep an eye on the other family members. Moments later, Betty's husband, Geoffrey Barasa, recalls hearing 2 gunshots from the bedroom.
Actually, I didn't know that my wife has been shot. I thought maybe they're scaring her. Maybe they feel we have money and we have not disclosed.
The gunman then came back down to join the others before the 3 vanished into the neighboring Ololua forest with 4 phones and Betty's laptop.
Then went upstairs to check what has happened to my wife, only to confirm that she's dead. Then the alarm was on, neighbors came, We engaged the police.
DCI detectives dispatched to probe the crime scene have since recovered one of the phones believed to be Betty's, even as investigations into the chilling murder intensify. With the motive behind the killing still a puzzle, the detectives are set to piece together evidence to establish whether the murder was a premeditated one, decoyed with robbery.
But these are people who know what they are doing, because they were not with they had gloves, industrial gloves. They are not just holding guns or whatever with they had covered themselves.
This as tributes for the slain journalist continue to pour from friends and colleagues. In this statement by the Media Council of Kenya, the council has condemned the inhumane act while calling for expeditious investigations into the murder. Meanwhile, the body of the deceased has since been taken at Montezuma Mona Lisa Funeral Home as burial plans kick off.
It is a murder puzzle that has left the family of journalist Betty Barasa with more questions than answers. One moment she was alive, the next she was no more, for a reason they have absolute zero knowledge about. Their plea, however, is that justice will ultimately be served. David Mudhoka, TV47 at Ngong, Kajiado County.
Well, may Betty's soul rest in eternal peace. Elsewhere, a total of 73,946 doses of Sputnik vaccine will be re-exported out of the country following a ban on the private importation of COVID-19 vaccines by the government. This was revealed by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board during a session before the Senate's Health Committee that is probing the shifting decision by the Ministry of Health in the approval and revocation of the license of Sputnik private importers. Our health reporter Zainab Mohammed has more.
While appearing before the Senate Health Committee, representatives from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board revealed that following the ban on private importation of COVID-19 vaccines by the government, Sputnik 5 vaccine importers have expressed interest of re-exporting a total of 73,946 doses out of the country, with about 527 people having received the vaccine already.
About 75,000 doses were imported of this vaccine. Our platform only shows 527 who have been vaccinated. We do not know how the rest have been distributed and the accountability of those other doses.
PPB is in receipt of a note of intent to re-export the vaccine from Kenya, but the company is in the process now of officially applying, but there is letter of intent has been given to PPP, but they'll have to apply. There is normally a procedure for quotation of medicine, so that is where they are doing right now as we speak.
The Ministry of Health defending its move as entirely based on citizen safety after the private importers breached the conditions of emergency use only by broadcasting messages on social media.
Any responsible government takes full charge in order to protect public health safety of its citizens. This includes issues of even the mitigation measures that we have put in place, which even apparently might infringe on individual rights, but are meant to protect the overall well-being of the entire citizenry of Kenya.
For now, the ministry insists the importation, distribution and administration of COVID-19 vaccines will remain solely in the hands of the government until proper framework is put in place to prevent the entry of fake vaccines into the country.
There needs to be a good framework for engagement of private sector. It is true that the ministry does believe that the private sector can support its response, but in a proper and structured way. And putting that proper and structured way is really now the focus that the ministry will be taking action on.
Meanwhile, the Law Society of Kenya has moved to court to challenge the decision by the Ministry of Health to block private importation of the vaccines, saying the move is not founded upon any provision of the law and is therefore unlawful and unconstitutional. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Well, still on matters health and donor funding and the unilateral decision by USAID to change the consignee from KEMSA to a private company has played a huge role in the scarcity of ARVs in the country. This is according to the Ministry of Health, that now says there is need for the Kenyan government to develop its own capacity to manufacture ARVs locally. The National AIDS Control Council says it's looking at donor diversification in order to prevent such occurrences in the future.
To early infant diagnosis, it is true, and I confirm that yes, we do have a stock out right now of what is required for us to be able to conduct infant diagnosis of HIV. And of course, we appreciate that lack of that, diagnostic feature then poses a risk in terms of ensuring that our children are able to be protected from transmission, or that they get the medication that they require in due time. Is that one, we've identified that one, we do need to have this implementing framework between ourselves and USAID, finalized and actualized and available for implementation.
Let's get to some politics now. And the Joint Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly and the Senate will table their report on the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 once Parliament resumes its sittings in May. Addressing a press conference at Parliament buildings, the committee's co-chair, Muturi Kigano, says that the team has made tremendous progress despite its sittings being stung by the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our Parliamentary Affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
Despite the BBI reggae taking a short break following the differences in both divides of the handshake, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee says the reggae is still on course. The committee is set to resume its sitting next week with the hope of presenting its report within 5 days upon resumption of sittings.
I'm happy to report that we are on course, and because of the interruptions by COVID, we have given this exercise a full 5 days from 19th through 5 days to be able to wrap up the report and give a report that can stand the test of time.
The committee has been advised by experts on constitutional amendment process. The experts includes MPs Otiende Amolo of Rarieda, Anton Kiai of Mokoreni, nominated MP Jennifer Shamala, and Siaya Senator James Orengo, and his nominated counterpart Naomi Wako, with a backup of Professor Patricia Kameri Mbote and Dr. Collins Odoti. The two consultants are also guiding Parliament whether to reopen the referendum bill and effects of changes before a vote.
Because the report that is expected, being the first of its kind, is important to guide future attempts or future amendments based on Article 257. It is important that we guide posterity, Kenyans, and other jurisdictions.
The committee has, however, ruled out a possibility of having a special sitting to table the BBI report, debate and pass it. Speaker Justin Muturi says there is no urgency in calling for any special sitting.
Those people who are dreaming that ODM will walk out of Sijui what, those are old way of doing things. We are beyond that, that era now. We are past that era, I mean. Hawa ni kama fisi ambayo wanangoja, wanatembea nyuma ya handshake na BBI, wanafikiri mkono itaanguka. Watangoja paka dunia iishe.
The BBI reggae is said to have resumed after two principals, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, ironed out issues surrounding the BBI bill, which was at risk of stalling. With assurance from Joint Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, what is waited is to see whether referendum will take place by June this year, as it is anticipated. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Palm Buildings, Nairobi.
Thank you, our Parliamentary Affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku, for that report. You are watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay tuned.
As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections.
As the salvos enter a too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
that part so that I don't
As we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my years.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with the desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Chop, mix, steam, grill, fry. For Untold Stories.
Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight. Let's get to more news now. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has officially commissioned the small arms factory in Ruiru, Kiambu County. The 4 billion shillings project is the first of its kind and is projected to create over 1,200 jobs, with Kenya being ranked the second in spending on military activities at a budget of 3.2 billion shillings. The small arms factory will aid in the national economic and technological advancements, as Musa Salah now explains.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has commissioned the new government arms factory in Ruiru, Kiambu County. The 4 billion shilling factory, with a single shift annual production capacity of 12,000 assault rifles, is part of a multi-agency national security industry strategy with 60% of its input from local sources. The factory, which is expected to create more than 1,200 jobs, is expected to reduce the cost of buying firearms abroad, adding to Kenya's independence in the security sector and, according to Kenyatta, contribute to the country's economic and technological advancement.
Not only will this support our national security requirements, but it will also aid in national economic and technological advancement by creating local industrial capacity that can be scaled up to various other uses. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a game changer. Since our independence, Kenya has largely relied on imports for our firearms requirements, with only the Kenya Ordnance Factory providing a minimal domestic capacity.
According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute 2019 Arms Transfer Database report, Kenya spent 3.2 billion shillings in its military activities, and nearly half of this was used in upgrading the country's air power. In the report, Kenya ranks second in military expenditure in East Africa, coming after Ethiopia, which spent 7.1 billion shillings in the same year. According to President Kenyatta, Kenya plans to expand its gun production capacity to enter into the firearms market.
In the medium and long term, we plan to create a weapons manufacturing surplus that will transform Kenya into an exporter of security equipment to nations in the region and the rest of the world. This will not only boost our balance of trade position, but it will also create employment for thousands of Kenyans, in addition to creating a skills and technology environment that will drive transformation also in civilian industries.
The project, which was initially valued at 15 billion shillings, has so far consumed 4 billion shillings, and the factory can now produce 12,000 small firearms every year. Musa Salah, TV47.
Moving on, the body of Paul Kipchapas, which was buried inside a school compound in Baringo North, was exhumed today by the county's public health officers under tight security. The body was taken to Baringo County mortuary and will be reburied tomorrow at a public cemetery. The family and the school's management have been at loggerheads over who was the rightful owner of the piece of land.
This is the aftermath of the tug of war between the family of Paul Kipchapas and the management of Koroto Day Secondary School in Baringo. The exhumation of Kipchapas, who had been buried next to a class in the school compound. It took 3 hours for the public health officers to dig out Kipchapas, who was buried in a shallow grave that was cemented. The health officers were protected by armed officers who were strategically placed inside the school compound.
There's a family which has been claiming ownership of the piece of land on which the school sits, and they thought it fit to bury her body at the entrance of Form 2 class, which is against the Public Health Act, CAF 242, regarding Nuisances Act. This is a nuisance, and we sought a court order to exhume the body for reburial, so as to pave way for the students to come and study in this school when the school opens in May. The challenge of exhuming this body has been the concrete casting, which was covering the top, which we have successfully removed it. So from here, we are transferring this body temporarily back to Cabernet mortuary, pending reburial tomorrow at Cabernet Cemetery.
In her ruling, Cabernet resident magistrate Vivian Amboko explained that the family had knowledge of the existing land dispute and should have waited for a resolution.
To avoid confrontation with the school's authorities, they opted for night burial. This is not right. The remains of the deceased in a school compound remain a nuisance as put by the public health officer. It is not relevant whether there are on the primary section or the secondary section of the school, it remains a nuisance and must be removed.
The decision to exhume Kipchapas's body was not received well by the family. They decided to stay away as the exercise took place, saying it was a taboo in the Kalenjin culture for a body to be exhumed.
Hatujafanyiwa haki. Kwa maana tulikuwa na tarajia tufanyiwe haki. Lakini kama wameamua kwenda kutoa mwili, sisi kama jamii tuna uzito sana. Hata watoto yake hatujui tutawaambia nini. Watoto wamelia sana, wakasema Kenya hii kweli iko haki. Kwa sababu kesi ya kwanza haijakamilika. Wameenda wamefile kesi ya pili na wamekata ya pili na ya kwanza bado iko kotini. So ninaomba ya kwamba kama kuna haki tufanyiwe haki. Sheria ya Kenya kama bado iko inafanya kazi, tusaidiwe jameni. Mimi nina machozi kwa maana nilikuwa na marehemu mpaka akiaka. Alisema kama mara 4, akiniambia shemeji nikienda nisikwe kwa shamba yangu. Shemeji nikienda nishikwe kwa shamba yangu.
The family claims the school's administration grabbed part of their land. On the other hand, the management of the school says the land in question belongs to the institution. Kipchapas died on 23rd March 2021. He was buried in the school compound at night, and some of his relatives kept a vigil guarding the grave.
Watu ya serikali wote walikuwa na kuna mtu aliangalia maneno ya Paul Kipchapas.
Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Watu wanaingia na kufanya.
Elsewhere, members of the Parliamentary Committee on Environment and Natural Resources experienced firsthand the massive pollution that has endlessly choked Athi River. Muthoni Maina has the details.
Athi River is not as clean as it was years ago. The recent pollution has been caused by the London Distillers Kenya, who have been accused of not complying with environmental measures. Led by the chairman Moitalelo Lakenta, the committee resolved that LDK should remedy the situation by installing the acceptable standards of modern equipment to deal with the pollution.
Clearly confirmed that London Distillers had not only polluted the area and affected the residents of an estate that was built by EPL but bought by Kenyans. It was confirmed that the Athi River, all the way from where the factory is, all the way to the coast has been contaminated by what the effluents from the said factory, and that it had affected not only the people using the water but also the livestock. So that one was confirmed.
On the 4th of March 2019, the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, brought a small purported report before the committee and later on brought a full report after the committee insisted for implementation, which led to LDK terminating its involvement.
When they appeared before us, they brought a very small paper purporting it to be a report. And we said we want a full report. The irony is that on that day, the reports were actually ready because there are documents which were actually attached by the same company LDK that showed that they received the complete report themselves on the 3rd, the day before the meeting. Yet NAMA did not bring the document to us, the report.
Later on, Edelman Limited got involved and have been accused for buying houses for various MPs so that they can work in their favor.
We have also resolved just now that this letter must be sent to Elderman, who purportedly bribed us, to also appear before the Speaker and the committee chaired by the Speaker and give out the details of any houses bought by the members.
The LDK company was supposed to be closed for 6 months, but Kenyans working in the company pleaded for their jobs, as this move would have rendered them jobless. The matter now proceeds to House Privilege Committee chaired by the Speaker.
So this shut. We are all going to be jobless and we are going to suffer in their families. And we took a deliberate step to ensure that the factory is not closed, but they comply.
Muthoni Maina, TV47.
Now, 7 entertainment joints in Nyeri town have been closed down for flouting COVID-19 protocols that were announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta. In Turkana County, more than 30 people were arrested for flouting the rules. Joash Onsare has more.
12 days into the COVID-19 containment measures, and Kenyans in some parts of the country are already flouting the measures. 7 entertainment joints have been closed down in Nyeri town for flouting COVID-19 containment measures and operating without licenses.
As we are going out, we have arrested some operating without license, not keeping distance, and they will be arraigned in court tomorrow.
Speaking during a crackdown on those flouting COVID-19 containment measures, Nyeri County Deputy Commissioner Joseph Mwangi revealed that several people have been arrested and will be arraigned in court.
And it will continue. It's not that when we leave here it is ending. There's another team getting in from now, and we will continue with this work.
In Turkana County, at least 30 people have been arrested for flouting COVID-19 protocols. Among those arrested were bodaboda operators.
Na tumeshika watu tangu asubuhi, zaidi ya watu 30 na wanalazimishwa kununua mask ndio waende, kwa sababu seli zetu hapa zimejaa na pia hatutaki kusambaza ugonjwa huko.
Accompanied by Area OCPD David Mburukwa, they said the patrol will continue to ensure residents abide by the Ministry of Health directives.
We shall make sure that the enforcement will continue all the time, and the above all is for our people, everybody included, to know that the safety does not mean that the safety is for us all.
Recently, the county of Turkana has reported an increase in number of COVID-19 cases.
Tumeweza kupima watu 13 ambapo watu 8 wamethibitishwa kuwa na ugonjwa wa COVID, na hiyo iko alarming sana kwa sababu mwezi bado ni mapema na tayari tumeanza kupata cases hizo.
Joash Onsare, TV47.
Well, it's half an hour past the hour. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. We are taking another short break. Stay tuned.
As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections,
as the salvos enter a too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5-year term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power. Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
that part so that I don't
we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with the desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic,
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Chop, mix, steam, grill, fry.
Back, thank you for staying with us. Now, Health Professional Association wants Health CS Mutahi Kagwe to drop the 2021 Health Amendment Bill. The health professionals claim that the bill seeks to remove health professionals from their respective bodies, leaving the health sector limping.
So who is the board?
A section of health professionals in the country now want Health CS Mutahi Kagwe to drop the 2021 Health Amendment Bill, which they say is a leeway to removing the professionals from their respective bodies.
They threaten the integrity of health professions and are gravely perilous to public safety and interest. In the view of the foregoing, we hereby reject the entire Health Laws Amendment Bill 2021 and call upon the Cabinet Secretary to withdraw the proposed amendments. We want to create an environment where, and an opportunity where all health professionals are involved in the governance of healthcare in Kenya.
According to the professionals, the proposed law wants to change the management of all boards to allow health CS to nominate lawyers, accountants, and other non-medical professionals to the boards, and only one medical expert.
This bill seeks to remove all traces of healthcare professionals from their health bodies. Yeah? So that's from participating in and contributing towards best practice and public interest in the boards. Yeah, these boards are, for example, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, the Medical Council, the Nursing Council. All these are being removed, traces of health professionals.
For instance, under the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, an executive chairperson shall be appointed by the President, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, or his or her representative appointed in writing, the Registrar, who shall be the Chief Executive Officer, and an ex-officio member of the board. Meanwhile, the professionals have questioned the operation of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board for the last 2 years, saying there is no committee to approve the controversial Sputnik 5 vaccine.
Pharmacy and Poisons Act says clearly that he should appoint a chair of that board. The Minister of Health should appoint members to that board. Yeah? That is critical to ensure that, as we are hearing the adverse effects of this vaccine, yeah, we like to get local data.
They say there is no communication between the Ministry of Health and the service providers over the matter.
Fail to sit together as citizens of this country, the politicians, the professional associations, and other stakeholders and the Wanjikus, to agree on the best way forward to actually manage the healthcare sector in this country. And this chaos will continue and will continue suffering as the public if the leadership in the Ministry of Health does not sit down with us as the leaders in the professional sector and address this issue.
Elsewhere, activist Edwin Kiama has been released on a $500,000 cash bail pending police investigation into cybercrime offenses facing him. Kiama is accused of producing public notices using President Uhuru Kenyatta's photo, asking the International Monetary Fund not to loan Kenya.
Human rights activist Edwin Mutemi Kiama was on Thursday produced in court to face cybercrime-related charges for using President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto's photos to produce public notices in form of posters that were warning the International Monetary Fund not to loan Kenya under the duo's leadership. Yesterday, the prosecution had sought 14 more days to continue holding the suspect, a request that was declined by Senior Resident Magistrate Jane Kamau on grounds that the prosecution had collected all they wanted from the suspect and that he would not interfere with the investigations.
I've also considered all other laws as referred to by the parties, that is the Criminal Procedure Code, Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act, where interestingly, as I researched, under the petition 206 of 2019, that is BAKE, B-A-K-E versus AG 2020, Justice Macau held that the act was valid and dismissed the said petition.
Kiama was released on a 500,000 Kenya shillings cash bail and was barred from using his social media accounts, and in particular mentioning that which pertains to Kenya's borrowing and public debt. Kenya's appetite for foreign loans has attracted wrath from Kenyans online who want countries and lending institutions to stop lending the country. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, a section of ODM leaders are demanding that the government, through the Ministry of Interior, gives proper explanation as to why it ordered for demolitions of several homes in Njiru last week. The leaders, led by Ruaraka MP TJ Kajwang, want the Ministry of Interior to explain to hundreds of Kenyans who lost their homes why they are now homeless in these already tough times with the COVID-19 pandemic, rendering most Kenyans broke.
Last week, residents of Njiru were treated to a rude shock as armed police officers and bulldozers pounced on their homes, bringing them down one by one. The early morning incident caught many by surprise as no communication of the demolition had been issued to them.
Tumemomolewa nyumba bila notice. Hatukuambiwa. Sasa utue venye station iko. Wanatuwekea kila kitu, kuna curfew.
It was supposed to be a safe house for the children that we take care of, orphans. So what happened here, we didn't even get a notice. It was on Saturday morning I got a call that they're actually demolishing the houses.
And now, a few days later, a section of ODM leaders have come out to condemn the demolitions.
The government cannot be crueler as it has shown to the struggling citizens. It is the clearest indication that we are dealing with the government or elements in the government who are either completely out of touch with the Kenyans or who don't simply care.
Led by Ruaraka Member of Parliament TJ Kajwang, the leaders accuse the Ministry of Interior of conducting the demolitions without probable cause, thus rendering many Kenyans homeless during the pandemic and partial lockdown, where the now affected residents cannot seek help from family members who may live outside the zoned regions.
We know that this execution was ordered by Interior Ministry. We know it was ordered by very powerful people in the Interior Ministry. And so we want answers.
Kwa hivyo ni ugandamizaji wa hali ya juu, na pia tunashuku huenda kukawa kuna watu binafsi ndani ya serikali ambao wana pengine nia ya kuchukua ardhi hii, na hii tu ni sababu.
They further demand a detailed report explaining to Kenyans who the land belongs to and why such drastic action had to be taken without due diligence through a notice for the residents to vacate their homes. Ruth Mulandi, TV47.
Elsewhere, a family in Kaimosi, Vihiga County is seeking for help from well-wishers to settle a hospital bill that accrued after their daughter, who was a Form 4 candidate, died in hospital while giving birth. Andrin Kilemi now reports.
This homestead in Kaimosi, Vihiga County is left in pain and agony. This is after Mama Kavai's daughter, who was a Form 4 student, died while giving birth in hospital. The deceased was a candidate at Nyabondo High School, where she was expected to sit for her final examination. Her mother, Regina Kavai, recounts of the painful ordeal that led to the death of her daughter 2 days at the start of the national exams.
Mwendo wa saa 3 njo sister mwingine akakuja pale reception, akaongea na mwingine akasema, mbona watu wa Banja wakishaua wanatuletea? Nikasikia roho inafanya tena, na kabla hapo huyo daktari yenye alipasua alirudi kuniambia, huu mtoto wako tuko naye 50-50.
Juliana was receiving treatment at Banja Hospital before she was transferred to Kaimosi Mission Hospital, where she died. She was supposed to be transferred to Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret for blood transfusion, but her family could not afford.
Wakasema tunajaribu kusaidia. Damu tumemwekea pints 2, iko pint ya 3, wanataka either 5 ama 6. Nilete watu watoe damu. Mimi nikawa sina la kusema.
Shida ambayo iko transport, nipate kuleta mtoto wangu nimzike hapa nyumbani. Na kama kuna wengine, kama kuna makosa mahali litokea, ningependa justice.
The family is now calling on well-wishers to aid to transport the body for a burial at their home. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
A Mombasa court has dropped a case against Kilifi Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi, where he was accused of intentionally spreading COVID-19 in March last year. In her ruling, Mombasa Chief Magistrate Edna Nyaloti explained that the Deputy Governor did not interact with the members of the public intentionally to infect them. She added that at the time Saburi was arrested in March 2020, COVID-19 had not been declared a contagious disease in Kenya. Saburi was accused of committing the offense between the 6th and 22nd of March 2020 after returning to Kenya from one of the countries that was then affected by COVID-19. To some politics now, and Deputy President William Ruto's allies now say that if at all their boss will work with ODM party leader Raila Odinga in the next general election, Ruto should fly the flag of the alliance between the two. Boniface Barasa has more.
Following the formation of One Kenya Alliance (OKA), speculations emerged that the country's second-in-command William Ruto and former Premier Raila Odinga were contemplating on working together ahead of 2022. Deputy President William Ruto's allies are, however, demanding that Raila should deputize Ruto in an event that the two work together to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Unajua Kenya wengi wako na imani na William Ruto saizi. Hata ukifanya opinion poll, William Ruto ako mbele. Ikiwa wataungana, then William Ruto akuwe rais na Raila Odinga akuwe naibu wa rais.
Both Ruto and Raila are eyeing the top seat as ODM party insists of subjecting their presidential candidates to party primaries. Professor Masibo Lumala, political analyst and a lecturer at Purdue University in America, holds a divergent opinion from that of Ruto's allies.
Trust me, there's no way Raila can be a deputy to Ruto. That will not happen. That's why I have said very, very clearly that in the event that Ruto wants to be on the presidential ballot, then Raila is the wrong person to team with, because Raila will be on the ballot as well.
DP's inner circle argue that the members of One Kenya Alliance have nothing to offer to Kenyans since the outfit does not have a national outlook.
Competitor wetu katika ODM tunajua atakuwa Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, na yeye tunajua ODM ndio chama ambaye ni National Party na UDA. Hii ingine ni chama za kikabila, chama za regions ama village parties.
In an event that Ruto and Raila will work together, will there be any threat to One Kenya alliance?
If Raila and Ruto and other like-minded people came together, that will be a major threat to the One Kenya alliance. Why? Who will be the presidential candidate? That normally has always been the most difficult question for most alliances, because Kalonzo wants to be the presidential candidate. And Mudavadi will definitely want to be the presidential, and Gideon Moi actually will be seen as the person bankrolling the One Kenya alliance. So you don't expect to be bankrolling a team and then you play the second fiddle.
This comes at a time when an alliance that will bring together Odinga, former United Secretary General Dr. Mhisa Kitui, and Machakos County Governor Alfred Mutua is in the offing.
It is a question of time as supporters of the duos are forced to wait for the political giants to cement the political working relationship as the country heads to the next general elections. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Trans Nzoia County.
Thank you, Boniface Barasa, for that report from Kitale. It's time for us to get to the world of sports now. Let's bring in our sportsman, Dennis Otieno. Dennis.
Well, thank you, Abubakar. Now, tonight we have a lot that is lined up for you. We shall be telling you what the Ministry of Sports intends to do to ensure that select sports personalities participate in international events. We shall also be telling you about the results registered in the UEFA Champions League, as well as what to expect in the UEFA Europa League. Now, this and more coming up in just a bit. A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno, and on to the top story in sports. The Ministry of Sports has rolled out a COVID-19 vaccination program for all the national teams ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Speaking to the press during the launch of the exercise at the Kasarani Indo Arena, Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed revealed that specific priority has been given to squads for the Olympics, Paralympics and World Safari Rally. The exercise, which targets to inoculate a total of 3,500 athletes, coaches, officials and athlete handlers across the country, is expected to run until Tuesday next week, following a national county government vaccination collaboration model covering Nairobi, Kajiado, Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet.
Start off an exercise of vaccinating all our Olympians, our sportsmen and women. We're going to roll this out, in a few days from today. We'll have a few more tomorrow. Today we'll have 600 vaccinated. Tomorrow about 500. On Monday we'll have another group of athletes coming through to be vaccinated as well. And we're hoping that by middle of next week we'll take stock and see how many of our athletes we have, sportsmen, sportswomen we have vaccinated.
Quite a good initiative coming from the Ministry of Sports. Now moving on, Budalangi Member of Parliament Raphael Wanjala wants the county government of Busia to give extra focus to the indigenous sports as a way of preserving the sporting culture of the communities in the region. According to the lawmaker, the blind eye by the county leadership is threatening the existence of traditional sports that are a darling of the locals since time immemorial.
Shida yetu tumelikuwa let down na county government. County government yetu imelala. Kwa sababu county government unajua mambo ya sports iko developed na culture. Culture and sports iko developed. Hata ukikuja Busia utapata ule minister anasimamia sports na culture. Utapata chief officer. Lakini ukiwauliza ni lini wamewahi organize cultural events zile